Hey guys, we have been wanting to make a podcast for a while because we are always sitting on this couch and
just talking music.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Exactly.
Who are you, by the way?
I'm Anna Spackman. I'm a local musician in Phoenixville. And who the heck are you?
My name is Shawn. I own a record store in Phoenixville called Forever Changes, and we both you work in music.
I do. I'm a hospice music therapist, so that is my day job.
And I own a record store, so we spend our days talking about music, but generally about music to people who don't fully know and understand music. Like every now and then someone will come in and like they know their shit, but usually it's me talking to, and so in your case as well, you talk to folks who, need and enjoy music, but it's not. So I think a lot of what we'll be doing on our little podcast, it's so funny, I can't help but think about the first Cranberries album. Everybody else is doing it, so I can't wait, because it's like, literally, that's that's what we're doing here.
Why not? Why not us?
Everyone
why not
else,
for this?
why not? Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about it anyway. We might as well turn a mic on in case someone else would be interested.
So that is the thing. So do you want to tell about like this, where we are? We're in our home.
Yeah. So this is literally the couch that we sit on. We get home from work. We talk about our days. We go down rabbit holes of, a patient asked me to play this music today, and Shawn will put that in context of what else was going on, in the 1950s musically. Like, we just are kind of off and running, and we know so many people that love music and are interested when we nerd off about the stuff IRL. So we're just hoping to reach more people and bring them into the excitement and in your case, a lot of knowledge dropping. Like, Shawn has such an encyclopedic memory for not only just dates and members of bands and everything, but like what that said about culture, what the musical evolution of a certain thing was. Like, I'm excited. Selfishly, I just want more people to know what Shawn knows.
And so since we are, this is long form, and I think we're going to like either not edit this or just let it, minimal, whatever.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see how crazy this is. But exactly what Anna was saying, where when I was a teenager in the 80s getting into 60s music, people would talk about how important the Beatles were and things like that. And so, but in the 80s, like what they had done in the 60s was already a part of like the lexicon of production and music, that it was hard for like 14 and 15-year-old me to be like, why was Eleanor Rigby such an important song? And so I, pre-internet, pre-Wikipedia, kind of did the research myself to figure out, what else was being, perfect example, like Revolver by the Beatles. What did 1966 look like before August when this thing came out? And I would literally listen to other music from that year and then drop the needle on the Revolver album and be like, oh. And in the same way of like, I didn't want to just take the like sort of the music of the mid and late 60s, for granted, because, during that time you have civil rights, you have Vietnam, you have some serious unrest in this country, and it's like, how does this music line up to what was going on? And so, that is kind of what you're talking about. That is kind of how my music journey, began outside of the music that was contemporary of the time. And then once you move there, it's like, I existed during Seattle and things like that. So it's like, it's like having an understanding in real time of like, you hear a certain album now and, a person in my store, and it's like, oh, this is what was going on. This is why this had an impact on a certain group of people. And one thing I think we're going to get to in this episode is jazz, which is like my air and water. I worship jazz, and that's also important because understanding how these releases line up in context of what was going on, especially within the African American community, it's that helps you understand so much more about what you're listening to. And I'd be remiss to kind of bounce to you, where I have a huge hole in my knowledge of music. It lines up between like 1999, I'd say like 2013. Honestly, a really pivotal part in like pop and rock music. But I was so neck deep in jazz that I was into Amy Winehouse, Duffy, Lily Allen, a couple others, but for the most part, I missed what was happening. And
yeah, like, so you said 1999.
I say 99, yeah.
Yeah. So, I was 10 years old. And so I was moving into my preteen, teenage, and young adult years, which is like, that is when identity formation like is such a thing, and you imprint on the music that is coming out that speaks to you. Like, that is the music you listen to like the rest of your life a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So and as an aside, maybe that's something I'm hoping to bring to this podcast, is just like my background as a music therapist and how music relates to memory and development. And so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what rabbit holes we go down. But anyway,
so
what
it's
you
a
were
fun
saying,
journey because but we both, our daily lives, our 9 to 5s are in music, and when we come home, as for dinner or whatever, like to eat a meal as a couple, our "How was your day" usually ends up descending into a music conversation.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, when we talk to friends and they're like, "Man, what would that be like to listen to you guys talk?" And so we're inviting you into our living room or our couch where we sit and we talk about our day and descending into music.
Yes. So if that is of interest, keep listening and stay tuned. We're going to try to do this on a regular basis. We don't know what that looks like yet.
Yeah.
And also, if there's anything you want us to talk about.
Oh, comment below, definitely.
Yeah. Just like, if it's something we feel like we can go down that rabbit hole, we can absolutely give it a try.
That is fun because we have a couple ideas.
Yes.
But if you have ideas, we're totally down.
Yeah.
So speaking of, what was your idea for this episode?
So the first episode, we already decided it should be about jazz. Okay. And maybe you can talk about why that is.
I think you kind of decided it should be about jazz. Okay.
But maybe I did. But I was listening to Shawn talk about a customer that came in sometime this week, and this, I think, is one of your favorite things about being a record store owner, is when someone comes in and wants to start their journey with jazz but just doesn't know where to begin. It's like they maybe have a rudimentary connection to it, or like they know if you pop it, or none. Yeah, sure. And then Shawn gets to kind of guide them through based on what their preferences are, what they like about certain kinds of jazz.
That was good.
And thank you. So, as an aside, we have been watching a lot of Say Yes to the Dress recently. And
we've been married for 7 years.
I know. So. But it's such a wholesome show. We love Randy Filoni.
Randy.
And I was listening to Shawn talk about this, and oh my God, you're the Randy of this world. Literally, just being able to pull a few selections and deliver someone something that is so tailored to them and what they like. And so we decided this episode should be Say Yes to the Jazz.
We're goofy, but exactly what Anna said. So just a little background on my store. It's called Forever Changes, named after the 1967 album. Yes. And it is a very jazz heavy record store, for being a small store in a small town here outside of Philly. Because I love jazz so much, and I know a lot of the stores in the area do not carry a lot of jazz, I have a lot. And with that, and it's very prominent in the store. You can't miss it. And so a lot of folks that come in and have never even peeked in a jazz section in a record store, they find themselves, if not looking through, but just sort of, they'll bring up, I've heard something, or I would love to get into it, but I just don't know what to do. And that gives me the opportunity to kind of guide them. And it's not mansplaining. It's not, my jazz journey started when I was 16. A little more background, and if you need to sleep, this is probably going to be a really good way to help you sleep. My family owned record stores in the Philly area, or in Philly. Even though it wasn't one of my dad's stores was not jazz focused, but he loved jazz, and they did have a decent section in there. And I, complete curiosity, one day he left me alone in his office, and I was digging through stuff, and I found a Miles Davis record. And
which one?
Bitches Brew.
Oh, that's right, because that's, if you know Miles, that's a more challenging album. So that's
that was a weird place to start.
Yeah. I think I've heard you recommend that's where I started, but you
don't
probably
start
shouldn't start there.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was just by the cover. It's a very, if you've never seen it, it's a very somewhat psychedelic, somewhat Afrocentric sort of cover. and it just appealed to me. And I think there's boobs on there, so that probably helped also.
16-year-old boy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Boobs. It's got to be good. And so yeah, I listened to it, and I told my dad, "Hey, I listened to this Miles Davis record," and he was like, "That? Like, you good?" And and he and a couple of the old heads, they come in quickly, told me to go backwards and start somewhere else after that. But in any case, without social media or the internet or Wikipedia, I didn't have a guide through jazz, and so a lot of it was just, I don't know, I know this name. And pretty early on I picked up a Mingus CD, and I'm surprised that wasn't the last thing I ever bought, because I was like, what the hell am I listening to? And
yeah, wait, in a good way or a bad way?
oh, bad way.
Okay.
Like it was, it's the town hall concert, and it's not for most people.
Okay.
And you might hear some hot takes. So if you're out there and you're a Mingus fan and you disagree, comment and yell at me. It's fine.
Yeah, we welcome difference of opinion too. Yeah. Like...
I will get to my Mingus thing though, because weirdly I have a huge Mingus collection, but it's because I keep trying to figure out what I'm missing.
Well, that's like a really great, just like staying open to like, I might be missing something.
Yeah, because it's like, I know he's a genius. I know he's a master. And I keep, and I'm like, okay.
So drop in the comments, what is Shawn missing?
No, literally, I have, Roots and Blues and and Black Satan Centerley. I mean, it's I have so much Mingus. And even the recent, they just put out a Birdland box set from, I think, 61, somewhere around there. Yeah, I keep getting Mingus, trying to figure out what I'm missing. But anyway, yeah, and I had no guide. And eventually, in my 30s, I was working at like an office, and there was an older white guy, and he was the first person that kind of gave me a little bit of guidance. And then a record store I was going to, those guys helped me navigate jazz. And so my point is, like, I don't, if someone comes in and is jazz curious, I literally want to hold their hands and help them, this huge, vast, very intimidating genre, and, giant history of music into current, jazz is not just old, like the current jazz scene is unbelievable. We'll probably get to that at some point. There's so many women in jazz right now. There's so many young people. Jazz is alive, if you don't know that. And
and many different kinds of jazz. Like yeah.
So going from the beginning of the 20th century up through today, and unlike with rock or pop, where there are definitely some things to avoid with those genres. Like 99% of jazz is good. It's like, it's not like, oh God, you want to stay away from that. It's like, you might love that. Like, try it out.
Yeah, and I think, this is a whole, because I will be honest, I'm not like a hardcore jazz fan, and a lot of the appreciation I've grown to have for jazz is journeying with Shawn, and especially going to Newport Jazz Festival. Yep. We've been going, I think we've been 5 times, sounds right. Yeah.
Like, not in a row. We went,
not consecutively. Yeah, and just I found myself listening to music and artists that never would have been on my radar, and just like being able to take away not just about the music itself, but like the spirit of collaboration and exploration and novelty. And we've talked so much about like all the jazz musicians we've met, with very few exceptions, are like
nice people.
And so humble, like so mutually respectful. And it's like, it's such a unique genre of music for many reasons, but I feel like it just attracts people that have that passion for just like trying things and taking risks and like, seeing what other people are doing. And it's not competitive because everyone has such different directions they take it. So,
and I think it's a mutual, I mean, this is, I'm talking out of turn because I'm not a jazz musician, but just in our interactions with them, to me, it's such a high level of playing
that too,
that I think they all just respect each other.
Exactly. It's like, if you're in this world, you have worked your ass off.
You must know something. Yeah.
You've like spent, 8 hours a day, at least, just like thinking about music, playing music, listening to music. Like, it's just such a, Yeah, that's exactly it. That work ethic and ability.
I remember when I was younger, like in the '80s, and like someone would like listen to The Cure and be like, "Oh my God, that guy can't play guitar because the guitar's too easy," kind of thing. And you hear a lot of like shitting on each other in like the rock world kind of thing. That's it's like I'm so much better than them kind of thing. And maybe it's in someone's head, but outwardly it does not come out. There's such a respect, and so that as a fan, it makes you really appreciate the music and these current players. And also, it's like. And this is kind of a frustrating thing, but it's like you'll see like top people in like some of the most intimate small places and like being able to talk to them, and it's like, oh my God, like you're a legend and stuff, and I'm like just talking to you right now, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think that it's not like the persona of the rock star, that brings people into music the way and Rocket might. Yeah, like this really is just like if you're like kind of crazy enough to like like just have music be such a focus, then that's the world.
Yeah, and then just like this is officially a rant now. We haven't even gotten to.
This wasn't even the direction we thought this would take.
But this is what you're in for. But like one of the things, at least for me, I think is neat, is just the adventurousness of like we went to see Branford Marsalis, his group, a couple months ago, and he's touring on an album, a 2025 record. And what's funny is on the drive down, we were playing it, and I think it was so mellow. You were like, "Oh, let's switch it up because it's a little too mellow."
Yeah.
And then the show was not mellow. It's like I think they might have played one song off the album at the show.
Yeah,
and
it was like, a totally different energy, and it was great. But it was like, same artist.
Yeah.
And, oh my
gosh.
So
yeah, if you're in the place for like you buy a ticket and you don't. Oh, I had to bring up the other one. When Dinner Party.
That's another podcast episode.
When Dinner Party played at Newport.
Yeah.
And if any of you have heard, so the Dinner Party, I'm confused because there's a rock group right now that I'm obsessed with called The Last Dinner Party, and like whatever, but Dinner Party is Robert Glasper, Kamasi Washington, Ninth Wonder, and Terrace Martin. And epic, like incredible. And they have 2 albums, and they're very vibey and chill, and just like if you were actually having a dinner party, it's something to put on in the background. And so they were headlining Saturday night of last year's Newport, not this one. And so we were all thinking, oh cool, what a nice way to end the day, just some chill stuff. No. it was
out.
Yeah.
It was like
super
we've talked about this, how sometimes at Newport the last act of the day will be like very heady, and it's like at that point you've absorbed so much complex music that your brain is like, whoa.
I need something chill.
I need something like
like that year, 2023, I guess, or 24.
Yeah.
The headliner for Sunday was Chic, Nile Rodgers, and it is not jazz, whatever, but it was we heard. It was 3 days of just so much complexity. That, you know what? I just want to dance to some 70s, like some 80s, like
I just want the bops.
Yeah, exactly. Just so that what we thought would have been a chill Saturday closing set ended up being one of the headiest things of the whole day.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I love that surprise of like, oh, I didn't expect that, but like a friend of ours who went and was expecting the stuff he heard on the record was like, oh, but it's like that is a part of the jazz journey. It's just like you have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Which again, another tangent, which makes you think of the 1960 Miles tour with Coltrane. Coltrane was in the band, so I hate saying Miles and Coltrane because it was his group, but Train was in the group. And again, if we're bouncing around or I'm bouncing around, and we'll get to a lot of stuff, but that tour technically would have been when the album Kind of Blue came out. And so if you bought the Kind of Blue record and then saw, oh, they're going to be playing at this theater, it's not what you got. It is super out. And it was like you have Miles moving very quickly into his minimalist style that would have kind of was the sound of that second quintet that formed in 64. And Train was at his moment where he was ready to just go as far into the intergalactic, planet. Yeah, exactly. and it's just like, for such a chill record, you go to the show and you've got these two guys who, absolute geniuses. They're just going in two different directions. And, so perfect example of like, yeah, it's like, cool. I like kind of, let's go see him live. It's like, oh, okay. Not what I was expecting. Yeah. But that was a tangent.
So yes, to steer us back. So yeah, like those are some reasons you should consider saying yes to the jazz, but also like know what you're in for.
Yeah. That's the point. Yeah. So it's good to have a sensei to kind of guide you.
Yes.
Because teenage me didn't, and it took a while to find some older guys that kind of led me and guided me through. And it's not to avoid certain things. It's just you need some prerequisites or some sonic prerequisites or just understanding of like what you're getting into before you dive into the heavy stuff. Because if you do too soon, it's like, I don't know what this is, but if you kind of understand what you're listening to, then you can get there. And if you never get there, fine, but at least you're enjoying what you enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the main thing. It's like you try to tailor each person's jazz journey so that they can be listening to the kind of jazz they like. And it's hard to know, you start with one album or one song even. It's hard to know what to do next. So yeah, I think there's a huge value in, and like you said, walking someone through it.
And so part of this YouTube podcast thing came out of literally almost every day at the shop, there's a story like this, but just the most recent was yesterday, actually, yeah. And a guy comes in, older guy, probably in his late 50s, 60s, whatever, and he had bought something 90s. I think it might have been like either a Seattle band or something kind of rockin' 90s, whatever, and a classical record. And like a lot of folks, like he kind of brought up jazz because you literally can't miss the jazz section in my store. And he was like, I would love to own some. I enjoy it when I hear it, but I just don't know what to, what I like and so forth. And so when someone says that in my store, it is the best. It's like I just come alive. And and so just had a little bit of a conversation with him, and in that he was like, I want something kind of boppy and with a groove kind of thing. And so he said, for me as a jazz fan, as a record seller, two words that I wouldn't put together. And so I wanted to make sure I knew what direction he was going. And so boppy, I knew where I would be looking, but the groove thing threw me. I was like, is he wanting some 70s funk jazz, whatever?
Yeah, groove can kind of mean.
Yeah. And so part of being a record seller, a good one, is kind of recognizing that you're talking to folks who don't have the language that you would usually use and kind of see what they mean by that. And so once I understood that when he meant groove, it wasn't like a funk sort of thing.
Right.
My brain went straight to West Coast. And to give an idea of what I mean by West Coast is West Coast jazz, also called the cool or cool jazz, cool school, things like that, was a scene in I'd say mid late 50s through the 60s of artists in the LA area that played a very sort of finger snappy sort of I'm hearing people commenting as I'm talking. It may not be as complex and boundary pushing as was happening in New York, but the playing is just solid. So where if you think of like the New York scene, you think of like Thelonious Monk and Miles, things like that, and Coltrane. On the West Coast, you've got guys like Stan Getz, Jerry Mulligan, Art Pepper, Zoot Sims, who were just, could just play. And just since we have time and since you're already here, those terms, West Coast and cool, come from, well, West Coast is obviously the geography, but Miles Davis, who started most things, is the inventor of the cool, and that comes out of Miles's first real gig was he replaced Dizzy Gillespie in Charlie Parker's group, and so Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie, along with a handful of others, they invented modern jazz called bebop in the mid 40s, and one of the key components of bebop is just absolute virtuosity and speed. And so if you listen to early recordings on the Savoy label or forget the other label, well, I'm forgetting it. That's really embarrassing. I was looking for
I don't know
a
how you
box set.
rattled off like all this other stuff.
Sorry. Oh, you can comment and tell me. It's Savoy and the Dial label. You listen to those early recordings, like it's lightning fast. It's you've got, Bud Powell, Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, Max Roach on drums sometimes. I forgot who one of the stalwart bass players back then. Um, but just lightning fast music. And Diz left the group because of Birds. So sorry if I say Bird, I mean Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker's nickname was Bird. And Diz Gillespie left that group because of Charlie Parker's addiction issues, and so he needed a new trumpet player, and so he hired this young cat, Miles Davis, and Miles could not keep up. He could not play as fast as Dizzy Gillespie, and accounts are kind of that accounts from back then are that people were kind of, who is this, you hired somebody who can't play. And they made some amazing music, despite everything I'm saying. Like, Miles's tenure with Bird was incredible, but I think there was a frustration of like, I can't play that fast, I can't be Dizzy Gillespie. So like any great artist, like, well, what do I do? How do I use the tools? How do I use my limitations in a creative way where it creates something new?
Yep.
And so once he left Charlie Parker's group, he put a session together of a 9-piece session, essentially doing those bebop tunes, but slowed down and arranged. And they originally just called Miles Davis Nonette. But what happened is a lot of the guys in that session, Mulligan being one of them, went to LA and started playing this very laid back sort of variation of bebop, and it started becoming the cool because it has a very cool sound to it. And
so, are you getting towards Kind of Blue?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, we're over a decade before Kind of Blue.
Okay.
But yeah. But that's those sessions end up being called the birth of the cool because it was the beginning of this cool sound. Those are our cats.
Excuse our cats. You can even hear them.
And so the point I'm getting at is, so the cool West Coast jazz is a very accessible, easy type of jazz to get into.
So what is an example of?
Actually, Dave Brubeck, like Take 5, things like that.
Okay.
Even though he's pretty complex, like his time signatures are, but it's just his horn player, his alto player. Oh, he got.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I have ADD. His alto player, Paul Desmond, just has so Desmond is someone to check out. Paul Desmond. I'm not a Brubeck fan, but I love the sound of Desmond's horn, and Paul Desmond has his own career, and I promise you, listen to an album of his called Take 10, or an album called Bossa Antigua, and you will just be in heaven. And so Paul Desmond's West Coast. Stan Getz, which the sound of his horn is just like will melt you. And any Jerry Mulligan, like Chet Baker, West Coast. So if there's another common thread, if you're hearing these names, they're all white guys. So it's not fair to say that every West Coast musician is white or is a white guy, but that's kind of a tell. But like Bill Evans in New York, so it doesn't always match up. A lot of these LA guys were white dudes. And so anyway, so as this guy was talking about like boppy sort of thing, I'm like, okay, I think you want to go West Coast. So I pulled an Art Pepper album that's just been remastered called Surf's Up. I think can't remember what else I grabbed. Oh, I did grab a Mulligan album, and Art Pepper, Mulligan. I think it was one other West Coast album. And I'm like, hey, Gil Evans, not Bill Evans, Gil Evans, who's an arranger, and Gil Evans Orchestra. And literally just, grabbed the records, and they are all sealed. They're new repressings, but I was able to stream them. And so similar to say yes to the dress. I
Mm-hmm.
gave him about 3 or 4 different options. We went up to the counter and I was playing him some of each, and immediately the Art Pepper album like struck him because he's like, this is exactly what I wanted to hear. Like it was, and I'm like, cool. And so the explanation I just gave you, I told him because he was like, well, you keep saying West Coast, what does that mean? And so I just explained, what that means, and gave him some other examples, and just like, if you like this, you will definitely like some Zoot Sims, and that's what it was a Zoot Sims record.
Okay.
And Paul Desmond, Getz is very chill, so that might be a little too mellow for him, but it's hard to not like Stan Getz music. I've heard Stan Getz as a person was an asshole, but yeah, so yeah, I literally had 4 records in front of him and played him a little bit of each, and Art Pepper, he said yes to the jazz.
He said yes to the jazz.
And it's cool because like now he was so thankful. He goes like, cool, like I get it now. Like
that's completely the value, of what you're doing. Is like, someone now has like, okay, there's the path. There's a few artists to check out.
Yeah.
I feel like my role can also be like the average person that isn't necessarily keeping up with Shawn, because. So can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So cool jazz makes sense to me. Having heard what you're talking about. Okay, yeah. Musically complex like bebop, but like not as fast, like slowed down, differently arranged.
Okay, give me pretty peppy. It can be peppy.
Okay, that's what I'm struggling with.
Okay, so I think if there's and in fact, when I was playing this guy, some Charlie Parker, I landed on a slower Charlie Parker tune. He goes, well, but this is slower than the Art Pepper thing. I'm like, right, but if you listen to Charlie Parker's soloing, his soloing is so complex, and so even if it is a ballad, there's a lot within his playing to take in.
Okay.
The West Coast guys, there's some very peppy, upbeat stuff, but it's just easy. There's nothing that's like, whoa.
It's a little less outside the box.
Yes.
Then. Okay. And you probably did say that, but
no, I don't think I did.
This is such an information dense.
I know. And actually, who we were just listening to before we started this, we were listening to the Clifford Brown Max Roach group, which even though those two guys are New York guys, their group, the Brown Roach group, is kind of an LA group, and you hear that like their arrangements were very complex. But the playing and solo, it's like, it was very light. It was very easy to take in and hard to like dislike. So, it's, like with anything, like the West Coast stuff isn't a monolith. Yeah. But the general thing is like, it's a great start. It's not, I say that because like, so to give the other side, the New York stuff, would be like, your Thelonious Monk, your Miles, Coltrane, Art Blakey, Art Blakey is pretty easy and fun, but you gotta be ready for his drum solos. But it's just, it's hard to, it's not so black and white as like West Coast stuff is easy, New York stuff is avant-garde. But it is definitely, with the stuff that comes out of New York, you will hear more. I mean, for instance, like Bill Evans, master white piano player. And I say that because I just gave this whole thing of like the West Coast guys, but and while Bill Evans is so, it's like butter silk. It's like
it's gorgeous.
Yes, the sound of his piano, the sound of his trio is like unbelievable. But at the time, like, what he was doing was revolutionary. It's argued, if modal jazz came from Miles or came from Bill Evans. I think, my thing is it was Bill Evans, but he was working with Miles at the time, so Miles took the credit. That's just my little hot take.
Hot take.
But yeah, like you listen to Bill Evans, you're like, okay, this is Ernie if you got in the camera. Hey bud.
You'll see his tail.
Yeah, you'll see his tail.
The video.
But Bill Evans literally redefined jazz piano, and so yes, while his playing is really appealing and interesting, before Bill Evans, that's not what jazz piano sounded like. And
so I'm curious, is that sort of like a common trajectory for this sort of thing to go when someone is trying to start their jazz journey? Like, is it kind of like you divide it in your head of like, well, is it closer to East Coast or West Coast jazz?
I mean, it's not so much.
Or how else has that taken shape? Like, what are some other... That's so funny. Ernie never sits in Shawn's lap.
Never.
Aw,
But now
he's like, talk about jazz to me, Dad.
Ernie,
I want to say yes to the jazz.
you were just, oh my God. Anyway.
But yeah, like, I'm curious how else that might look. Like, what do people commonly come in and say, hey, I know I like this album, or I know I like this artist?
It really, like, you know, the goal isn't to get them into more complex, it's just to find,
Sure.
you know, what is your comfortable lane.
Yeah.
And where, you know, and I definitely have customers that, like, once they like something, it's kind of like, oh, well, I'm going to try this out. And I'm like,
Sure,
you
yeah.
sure? It's like, I don't know. I just want to, I feel comfortable enough that, like, I'm willing to try something new out. And, but it's really more so just for jazz to meet them.
Yeah.
And so if someone comes in, and so you'll probably hear a lot of, like, magazines or things like that be like, oh, the jazz album to start with is Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. It's the most famous jazz album in the world. And I learned pretty early on with my store that that's not always the case, because one thing with Kind of Blue is it's very mellow. It's very chill.
Yeah.
And within the first couple months of me having the store, I had someone come in and wanted an introduction to jazz, and I pulled Kind of Blue and I played it, and literally they were like, this is slow. And I was like, oh, yeah, it is. And I was like, you want something more upbeat? And I forgot what I found them. I forgot the album, but still very accessible, but just, you know, a peppier album. It might have been some West Coast stuff. Actually, I think it was Art Pepper's meets the Rhythm section. And if you haven't noticed, I freaking love Art Pepper. And it was like, oh yeah, this is it. So, you know, that's one thing, is like someone may want to get into jazz, but they want something kind of upbeat. And so it's like Kind of Blue is not for you, because it is a very mellow record. And like I had mentioned, Art Blakey. Oh, that's the other thing, is I'll always say, like, well, what instruments do you like?
Oh, that's a great starting question, because like I'm thinking about the jazz I've liked, and like the Bill Evans and Oscar Peterson. Like I noticed the piano is a big draw to me, like, and seeing jazz live, it's like, if there is a piano, like, that's easier for me to lock in on, probably because I started out playing piano, and I did like a little bit of jazz piano lessons, and I know enough to know it's like, it's beyond me. Like, but like, just such a deep respect for it, and especially like the piano voicings. So anyway, I love the prompt of like, what instrument do you like? That's a great
and
starting
sometimes they don't know, but sometimes it's like, you know, because I've done that where I'm like, oh, you know, let's try this Bill Evans, and they're like, and they're kind of like, you know, something's missing, and I was like, oh, do you want a horn kind of thing? So I ask, it's like, you know, kind of instruments, and they'll be like, well, I don't know, like a, you know, I like horns, I like, you know, whatever, it's like, or, you know, just trying to feel, and even sometimes they don't have the language for that, but just trying to feel that out. And so it's like, if they're, you know, want something with a horn, it's like, it might be a Kind of Blue, or it might be, you know, Coltrane's Soul Train album, or Cannibal Adderley's something else. Trying to think, some, you know, any West Coast, Zoot Sims or Pepper, Paul Desmond, things like that, or if they are like, you know, just something really, really mellow kind of thing, it might be a Bill Evans, and or like, and I also try and throw in an instrument that they might not think they'd be into. So you know, jazz guitar. So Grant and Green has a very, very famous album called I don't know. Is that Grant Green? Yeah, I don't know. It's Grant Green, jazz guitar player, and Grant Green is his like earlier 60s Blue Note stuff is just like chef's kiss. It's stunning, and you know, and all of a sudden someone's like, oh, I never thought I'd like that, and and just trying some different instruments out, you know, Bobby Hutcherson or Lionel Hampton with the vibes. Trying to think what else. And just finding, you know, what sounds would you like to hear, and you know, once you nail that down, it's like pull some things, just just like Randy.
There's so many parallels. They're like, you know, introducing them to an element they didn't ask for, but it's like, I just want to see what you think of this, because you might not know you like it if you don't see/hear it. Yeah.
I had this couple, it was last year, I think, and they were at my store, and I don't know why I was playing Jimmy Smith, or maybe it came up because he is from Norristown, which is near where we live, and it was jazz organ. And you know, it's not always something that's appealing to a modern ear.
Yeah.
And these folks are like, "Oh, we like this." And this guy literally comes in for Jimmy's, and so his kid, I think it's like a little more than an infant, but it's like a little kid kind of thing.
That's
and
so
the
cool.
whole family loves Jimmy Smith now. Yeah, it's really cute. And
I love that.
yeah, and it's just like you just never know.
Yeah.
It's people just
you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I did meet one person. This woman came in with her mom who said, "I don't like jazz," and as me and the woman were talking, I was okay. Like, she really was like, I don't think she likes jazz. Like, I really, and the kid was like, no, there's gotta be something. Shawn, do your thing, work your magic.
Oh wow, what a challenge.
Yeah, and I wasn't like, she really was just like, I don't like how free and how they just do whatever kind of thing. And so I thought about, you know, and she did like big band.
Okay.
But and so and so I tried some smaller group things. I think I might have had an Ellington small group, or like Johnny Hodges, or like Coltrane with Ellington, just like something that was adjacent to big band. And she needed things locked,
a lot
in.
of structure.
Glenn Miller type things that just like pretty much I wouldn't consider jazz, because it's not there's no improvisation. I think I even tried bossa nova, like the Stan Getz, Gilberto stuff, whatever, but it's just like something. And I was ready. I mean, you know, the kid, I kind of had to tell her, the younger, the person's kid, who was my age, it wasn't like a kid, whatever, to be like, we're done. Like, I think she's convinced me. And,
like that, you know, her window of tolerance for like unpredictability or dissonance like is kind of what it is, and we will respect that.
And I always have to, like, you know, my own ear, this is ridiculous.
I know
he never does this.
I know, he's like feeding off of your joy talking about jazz. Ernie's just in heaven right now.
Oh my god,
just happy in dad's lap.
Oh my god. But I have to, you know, because I have a weird brain, and so I do like some pretty out there avant-garde stuff, and you know, the joke is like, I can fall asleep to some of the most,
oh my god,
you know, abstract sort of.
I feel physically tense if I'm listening to this music for too long. Like, I can appreciate it again, but just like it's a lot for me. And like Shawn will be like nodding off.
I'll fall asleep.
So which, if I can inject a little bit of like music therapy stuff. So like something that and I don't know how this fits into anything, but just like validating there's so many ways to connect to jazz, no matter what, you know, your sensibilities are. But like basically we're drawn to music that violates our expectations. So enough of it is familiar, but then like the end of the phrase, it does something different, or like this is familiar enough to a style that I know and like, but then like something's a little bit off, and like it surprises me in a pleasing way. So like basically, if music is too familiar, we check out, we don't attend to it. It's just like our brain doesn't have anything to like really hook it in. But if there's too much of a surprise, then we also sort of check out, because your brain is like, it's too much. It's overstimulating. I can't follow it. Like I'm out. It's too much to attend to. And so that sweet spot is like the music that violates our expectations in like just the right way. And because in jazz, there's so many different like threads, it's just like there's probably some music in there for you that, again, you don't know what you don't know. So, just pushing the say yes to the jazz.
No,
message,
it is true. It's like, it's just, you know, it's one of my favorite things. It's my favorite things.
Nice.
Is just, you know, when someone is, you know, sometimes they're literally just curious because, again, like in my small store, the jazz section is so big, and they just feel almost an obligation to like acknowledge, like, like you have a lot of jazz. Like you know, I don't know much about it, but you know, it seems, and it's like, that's just enough of a window of like, let's just see if something here speaks to you. And it's, it's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm distracted by the cat.
I know. Yeah, so is there anything else you would want to say about like what questions you ask people, or
I definitely ask like tempo.
okay.
You know,
I meant to say, that's interesting you brought up like small versus large ensemble. Like I didn't even think about that. But yeah, like the more instruments there are, that changes the experience.
yeah, and some people like, you know, big band just sounds like old timey, and they kind of pull back.
Yeah, and sorry, I keep jumping in.
No, you're
like
jump in.
As a music therapist, like I guess my contribution is like music is so subjective, and so much informs our music taste, but music connects to memory for so much of us. And like if we had a certain relative that like they just played big band constantly, maybe that makes us like nostalgic and like, oh, like, I have such fond memories of being at my grandma's house or whatever it is. Or it could go the other way and just kind of like, oh God, like, she would play that all the time. Like, it just, I hated it then and I hate it now, just.
No, it's true.
So, yeah.
Did we ever talk about, because I had mine, but is there something like of your parents or something that at the time it was like, oh God, this, and now you appreciate it?
That's a good question. I honestly feel like I liked all my parents'
Really?
music. Yeah,
That's very cool.
Yeah, I feel very lucky.
That's very cool. Because for me, it was Ray Charles. Like my dad.
Yes.
And like, yeah, as a child, it's like, oh my God, like it was so old timey.
Well, your dad also played Ray Charles too.
Yeah.
Or like he had that sort of style.
He was Philly's Ray Charles.
Yes.
Like he kind of imitated, yeah. But it was like it is, as a tween and teenager, it was so old timey. It was like, oh God, this.
Yeah.
And but then in my I think late 30s, I like rediscovered. I even had a couple of his records still in the collection, but I like just was like going down a hole of like just full disclosure, I was trying to figure out some songs to cover. I was like trying to do the whole like like the dinner music kind of thing, whatever. And I was like, maybe I'll try some it seems generic and basic kind of thing. And so I break up my dad's records and like, oh, this is amazing. It's like the soul is just like, oh my God.
Maybe we can like wrap it up by if there's like, I don't know, if there are any current jazz artists that you think more people should know about. I know this could be its own podcast. Is that too big of a prompt?
No, that's just like, I feel we both can name names, but
yeah, but you especially, I don't know.
Yeah, no, the current scene, if you want something pretty easy to digest but really, really complex and amazing, there's an all-female jazz ensemble called Artemis. But members of Artemis, their sax player Nicole Glover is unbelievable. Their drummer Allison Miller is amazing.
She was Ani DeFranco's drummer for some time. I don't know the exact date. This is where I don't have Sean's brain.
Really, you don't?
No. Yeah.
Because we watched some clips where she was there.
And I remember, like...
Would have been Knuckle Down?
I don't think it was Knuckle Down, no. Yeah, see, this will take me too long to pull up. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. But yeah, she was, super dope.
Yeah.
Of course, Lakeisha Benjamin, who's an alto sax player, and she is just fierce and amazing.
And see her live. Yeah. She is so fun. She is so hype. She will go from blowing to rapping and then just jumping up and getting everyone to clap. Like, she's so much fun to watch.
Yeah. If you have a young person, like a teen or something, that like you want to get them excited about jazz, like that is a show, because it feels like you're at a hip hop concert or something.
It's such a party.
And it's jazz. Yeah. Of course, Christian McBride. Well, why am I blanking on some things?
Well, I was gonna mention just like Leve has been a lot of people's foray into. Yeah, well, you saw the clip where she asked how many people had been to an orchestra.
Yeah.
She uses strings in a lot of her music. So, yeah, talk about like Leve as a jazz artist. Do you consider her jazz?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
And because it's my Leve journey. I guess was over 2 years ago. Whatever, she was kind of not starting out, but just getting a little bit of attention.
So she is from Iceland?
Iceland, yeah.
Yeah. And I forget what else I was going to say. Yeah. She spelled Laufey.
Yeah.
Just that was a hard thing for us to figure out.
And so, someone, had mentioned Leve, and I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And I listened to to her stuff, and it had an Andrews Sisters kind of very early jazz kind of vibe kind of thing, jazz vocal, and I was like, okay, well, clearly she can sing, and it seems like kind of nichey and sort of like not nichey but like kitschy or something, and whatever, and I was about to dismiss her, and I decided to like watch a clip of her live, and she's playing jazz guitar. Like, she's not just singing, she's playing guitar. And if jazz guitar is not easy.
No.
And then singing while playing is and I'm like, oh, you're the real deal. And then the same clip, it's like a couple songs she jumps on piano.
I was just gonna say, then she jumps onto like 4
on
other
cello,
instruments.
and it's like, oh my god, it's like, okay, you're it. And so she was pretty great. We saw her in Newport one year, and I really, really liked her. But then her album from 2025 just knocked it out of the park. And like, now I'm an obsessed fan.
The songwriting, we were sort of commenting how it's almost singer-songwriter meets jazz, because it is so, like, I don't know, to me it really goes outside of the vocal jazz that I've heard, in terms of like the songwriting structure being so complex, like, and not, I don't know, there's something really singer-songwriter about it to me.
Well, generally, I think most vocal jazz artists don't write they're always doing the American Songbook.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, because that music, it's not to say that's not complex, but it's like, it's sort of, there's a limit to how vulnerable you can be, because it's like, it's a song that like theoretically anyone would be able to cover. And Leve, I feel, gets so vulnerable in her songwriting. It's
there's some heartbreaking songs in there.
Yes, totally.
And her ability to use humor.
Yeah, right. She has
wit.
Really funny lyrics too. Yeah.
And that's not just as a songwriter, that's not easy.
No, like, it's really hard to pull off humor in like a way that's
you're
not
being
just like
Weird Al. It's like how am I? How do you be funny without? And she's brilliant. Yeah. And then we watched someone's like phone footage of like a show from this last tour, and it's like she goes from having like the backup dancers to having a jazz trio to having a full blown or like string section, and and this audience is young, and it's just cool like having these young people. And I more so am telling older folks, like, she's checked Leve out, and because they're buying it for their kids. And it's like, I'm like, have you heard this?
Yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah, and then when they do, it's like, kids are listening to this? I'm like, yeah, the kids are listening to this, and she's a great gateway into jazz, in my opinion. I haven't full-blown seen someone go from her to being into jazz, but I think it's going to take a little bit. I think, if you went to that show, it's a hard world to jump into, so they may need to be, with her for a little bit, and just put that familiarity of like seeing someone sing with an upright bass player and a piano player and drums, and it's like, now this isn't foreign to you. This isn't like, what are these weird instruments? Like, no, you've been to an arena show with this artist you love playing with these instruments, and no, I'm excited for how she brings a younger audience into jazz. Is she's great, and just has such personality, and just kind of makes me think of how like Norah Jones was the person that like brought jazz back when Blue Note signed her and that first album, and she just went. I love Norah Jones, but like she really abandoned jazz. Like, and I know I've heard people say like they don't consider that album a jazz record, the Come Away With Me. But I don't know. That's a whole, the tangents in this.
I know. Yeah. Okay. So maybe we'll talk more about that and stuff. But like, comment if there's any of these things. It's like, oh, I actually want to hear Shawn go deeper on that. Like,
and so Moses Yuffie is amazing. Yeah. They're amazing. We caught them in Newport this year.
Yeah. It was the first act we saw, and they're from Berlin.
Berlin. Yeah. Who else? Some.
Well, before we leave vocal jazz, Samara Joy is like a must.
She's incredible.
Yeah. She won a Grammy at what, 21?
No, I think she's 24.
24? Yeah. Okay, still. Yeah. And then her family is like, she comes from a family of incredible.
McClendon.
Yes. Yeah. And one of them at least is Philly.
I think
right? Are they all Philly?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She's someone to know. Yeah. Incredible voice.
Yep.
Yeah. And
let's give him one more. Who have we seen?
yeah.
Who?
Knower.
Okay, you go ahead. You talk.
Yeah, well, again, like I don't do such a deep dive into the research as Shawn does, so I can only just say like my impressions. But we saw Knower at Newport
and who
this year.
Lewis Cole.
Lewis Cole, and I don't know
I don't know her name.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But
Yeah.
Lewis Cole's a thing.
Yes.
And this is one of his projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just very. I've described it as like it's tickling your brain. Like it's almost this it's like electronic meets jazz, like incredibly complex chords, a lot of really furious like up-tempo stuff. But like still enough, again, it hits my sweet spot of like familiar, and because there's a bit of a pop element to it also.
Is, yeah.
So it's really fun. Like I play some Knower when I'm trying to get hyped up for something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's like I thought this was pop, but it's definitely not. But it's like it just no.
The textures are crazy.
Yeah.
Like
her voice is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, great pick.
Yeah. I just feel that I don't. Yeah,
no
this is
deal.
what happens when we don't like prepare for. We're just riffing in the spirit of jazz.
Yeah.
So
Hey, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we want to wrap it up?
I don't know. That was what I had.
Okay.
Wrap it
so
up.
I hope you like this. If you do, follow, subscribe, all the things, whatever, comment, and we have another one lined up. We have an idea, but please just flood with just be nice, but give some comments and things you might want to see, and feel free to correct. I still am pissed off. I can't remember about this word.
It's okay. Yeah, that's in a very collective way. It's like let's just nerd off together, and if one of us is missing a detail here and there, let's just help each other out. But
yep. It's driving
oh
me.
no!
It's driving me absolutely crazy.
All right, we're gonna go.
Yeah.
Figure out what he forgot.
Later, guys.
Thanks for tuning
See ya.
in. Bye.